Hey guys, just making this video just in case some of you are in the same dilemma that I was. I bought this new in 2020 v4s Panigale, and it's a beast, as those who've ridden one will know. But I do touring on it, and I'm nearly 50, and riding 10 hours in the saddle was a ball breaker. So I went to look at getting a Streetfighter, and the dealers wanted like nearly 20 grand trade-in on a bike that's essentially, you know, it had hardly done any Ks and was a beast. So I looked into it to try and convert it to a Streetfighter and couldn't find anything online. I like tinkering, so I kind of just went at it, and it's actually pretty simple. If you've got a bit of handy skill and you don't mind hitting the spanners, it can be done quite easily and cheaply. So the trick is to get a Streetfighter top triple clamp, and then there's bushes on the back here, which you may be able to see. You can see the bush there. That usually is where a nut sits on the bottom of this, which fouls on the headlight surround for the steering. The forks that hit the triple tree, nut going through the handlebar mount would hit these headlight mounts, which made it not possible to do, which may be why no one's done it. So what I did is I machined off the bottom of the stem and countersunk it, so machined a countersunk into the steel sleeve, and then put a countersunk bolt up through the bottom of the handlebar, and so then there's a nut on top. You can see there's nuts on top instead of nuts being on the bottom, and that pretty much solved it. Streetfighter handlebar, all the controls swap over. You just need to get Streetfighter clutch and front brake line because they need to be longer. And then I sort of splurged because of the amount of money it was saving. I got the triple tree second hand off a bloke that was converting his Streetfighter to a race bike, so that was only a couple $100 second hand. I think they're about 400 new. So because it was costing very little, I ended up putting a set of Gillies tooling rear sets on there, which are pretty expensive but wonderful. And I also put the CS Racing exhaust on there and got it tuned. So it's got 221 horsepower at the wheel, or 222. It's an absolute monster to ride. It's a beast. Just now with the soundtrack and the tuning, I mean, it's just bonkers. But super comfortable to ride. I got a seat off a v4 SP and then upholstered the seat onto the Panigale base. You do have to put a couple of washers, a couple of spaces up in here just to lift the seat up a bit because it's on a bit of an angle. I put about 4 or 5 mm spaces in. It probably could come up a little bit more because you kind of are still seating slightly full, but I've ridden this for 5 hours without a break and it's got off without any problems at all, whereas on the Panigale with the clip-ons, after about 45 minutes I'd be sort of struggling, and then I would have been cramped up and in a lot of pain for 5 hours, so had to get the disc grinder out, the flap. I don't know whether any of you use those flap grinders, sand flap pads you put on a grinder, because with the Gillies tooling, some of the parts of the fairing needed to be cut away, so I've just cut away. I didn't really care. You can get second-hand fairings for the v4s for a couple $100 for bits and pieces here and there, and now this bike's such a beast to ride, I'm not planning on selling it, so I didn't really care about damaging the panels in any way, because I wanted a bike which is essentially awesome, and now it's just better. I got the fairing. You do have to chop the fairing back, so I custom cut back this and then shaped it. I think I cut off about 60 mil off the original one, something like that from memory. I did shape these because I started off with the Rizoma flat bar. Shout out to Kalimoto and Dave Moss, for super helpful information. Kalimoto put a straight Rizoma bar on his Streetfighter. I quite like the look of that, so I tried that first and cut this out to suit the flat bar, but I didn't like it. It was just looked a bit dicky on the Panigale with it being straight. because of the curves on the bike. So I ended up putting the Streetfighter bar on, and you know, I think it looks pretty cool still. And just the ride, I mean, it's just bonkers. And you know, now with the soundtrack from the exhaust, the microphone on the phone doesn't capture at how loud it is. It must have some muting thing after a certain decibel. It's bloody loud, but it sounds insane. And when you're riding it, it just brings a whole new dimension of sensory input that the standard exhaust doesn't do. Let alone now, it's just bloody ridiculous in terms of the power it's got. It's so much fun to ride. Great fun to ride at low speed as well. That's what I love about the V4 and the Panigale. And now that it's comfortable, I reckon it's probably the best bike to get, really, to be honest. I can't think of anything. I didn't ride the M1000R. You know, they didn't have them available when I bought this because of manufacturing problems. But man, if you've ridden a Panigale, you'll know what I'm talking about. They're just such an exhilarating, amazing bike. Yeah, spectacular on every level. And now it's just got the kind of muscle bike, you know, growl with the Streetfighter comfort with the Panigale crazy handling, acceleration, you know, mapping. So yeah, so it's possible. You can do it. You know, I probably spent $5,000. I got like carbon fiber levers, and I just did a bit of bling stuff just because, you know, essentially in my mind I was saving, you know, $15,000 on trading it in, and got to keep my bike that I've got the history of. And yeah, it's a beast. So you could put Streetfighter standard rear sets on. You may still need to trim. You might not actually. It depends, because the standard rear sets are a lot smaller because they're aluminium cast to save money in manufacture, I'm guessing. It probably doesn't come out like this with the Gillies tooling, because these are pretty chunky, you know, big machined billet pieces. So you know, if you picked up a second-hand set of the rear sets off an actual Streetfighter, you may get away with not having to modify the fairing there pretty much at all. The other thing I did is I had to, and this may be the Gillies tooling problem again as well, I sort of did a slight mod to the side stand leg because it would touch the back of the Gillies tooling lever here. So, you know, but again, and I had to, you know, cut out a little section here which you can't even really notice, to be honest. So yeah, a little bit of tinkering. Trying to think if I've missed anything. Oh, the switch, the rear switch for the rear brake, they're different. The Streetfighter has a different switch back here compared to the Panigale. So you can buy the Streetfighter switch, which I think was about $70, and then just wire it into the loom, which I did up here, and and that makes the brake light work. So, you know, you just test which wire you know, has your flow in that, and then hook it into the line, which was pretty simple. And that's about it. Yeah, so Panigale, the Streetfighter conversion is possible, and it's affordable, and could save you a lot of money in a trade-in, and you'll have a spectacular bike. And the money you save you can spend on some goodies like an exhaust, get a tuning done, and have an even bonkers bike for a lot less money. So yeah, hope you find this helpful. Cool.